anyone who doesn't see them as top 3, in my opinion, you're blind, you're crazy. They brought too much back. Y'all ready for number 1? Are you ready?
Who's ranked, who's real, who's built to last, who got exposed, who's moving fast, from the HBCU pride to the Power 5, let's we talk football every week, every night. Fans in the stands, drums on go, lights on bright, and the crowd moves slow. Big hits, ball picks, everybody knows. Daniel Roundtree got the football show.
Greetings, football fans. Ahoy! Listen, if you are watching this, we are right under 60 days before the brand new 2026 college football season kicks off. I don't know about you, I'm excited. I hope you're excited because this season is hopefully going to be one of the best seasons that we've seen in the last 5 years to a decade. So listen, we've got the top 25 for you, and this is an early projection, so I got to tell you right out of the bat. Feel me? When we talk 2026 early projections, the season hasn't even started yet. Heck, they haven't even started fall camp. So this early in the season, there's gonna be some paper warriors. And what I mean by that is it's projections based off of on paper rosters, what they look like, who got who, what do they look like in spring, is this team going to be the best team? So listen, if you disagree with me, that's okay. Let me know in the comments if my top 25, top 10, or heck, my number 1, let me know where I messed up, but I want to hear directly from you because you're going to hear from me today. And my top 25, in my opinion, is the best top 25. I've seen ESPN, I've seen all these other top 25s. Mine is not based on trying to fit everybody in from all these conferences. These are the teams that I think will be the best top 25 teams, and I got more coming your way. Before we jump into the top 25, I need you to stop right now. Do me a favor. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're going to have new content for you every single week, especially as we get closer and closer to the season. So I want you to be tuned in. I want you to know exactly what's coming your way, okay? Let's do it. Okay, so starting out at number 25, we're not wasting no time. We're getting right into it. At number 25, we have the Memphis Tigers. Listen, Memphis has always been one of those teams out of the AAC that always is competing for an AAC championship and right in the mix, maybe even for college football playoff, if they can keep enough ducks in a row. In comes Charles Huff. Charles Huff has been a verified winner just about everywhere he's gone. At Marshall, he was known for winning big games against teams like Notre Dame that he wasn't supposed to win, but he made it happen. He goes over to Southern Miss, respectable seasons there. Now he's getting another promotion, another upgrade from Southern Miss into Memphis at the AAC. And listen, I'm big on coaching tutelage, right? So when you look at coaches and you see their resume across other teams, especially when they had lesser talent but could be better teams, that's a coach that is going to be a good coach. And unless something goes awfully wrong and they change their script that they've used, their recipe that they've used at other places, they're usually going to have some form of success. It's just how it goes. So Charles Huff comes to Memphis. He brings in Aaron Nolan. He's going to have a really good defense. They had other transfers that are coming in at Memphis. So that's my number 25. We won't go into too much detail there. At 24, I love saying this name. I don't know what it is, but Eli Drinkowitz. It's just a fun name to say when we say Eli Drinkowitz. The Drinks man, I just made that one up right on the spot. Listen, Eli Drinkowitz is going to have a good team at Missouri this year. When it comes to consistency in the SEC in regards to getting above that 6-win mark, 7, 8 wins, Missouri's been doing it. Missouri has had really, really good teams, and they're always on the brink of going to the college football playoff or maybe, just winning the SEC championship. Let's not talk winning. Let's talk getting to the SEC championship because that's where they've been at. In comes Austin Simmons over from Ole Miss. Ole Miss anointed him the starter at the beginning of the year. He has a bad injury. Trinidad becomes who we all know who Trinidad Chamberlain is, and that boy's a dog. But Austin Simmons is a really good football player. He's going to be taking the reins at the University of Missouri. They did a fantastic job, in my opinion, addressing some of their portal losses and NFL departures. They've got the top two, in my opinion, top two running back. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be hard to stop. I just don't think they're going to win the SEC, and that's why they're number 24 on my list. They're going to be a great team. They're going to win some big games. They're probably even going to have some upsets. Let's keep it pushing though. So number 23, we have the Washington Huskies out west. Listen, Washington, prior to popular belief, has really good football. And I'm talking ground level up. I'm talking high school, I'm talking college, etc. They have good players. And as someone who's played kind of coast to coast, I've seen it firsthand. Washington has some dogs. And I think the big news when we look at Washington is they were able to keep Desmond Williams away from the Lane train. Lane Kiffin tried to swoop in. He tried to steal away Desmond Williams to LSU while he was also courting other quarterbacks. It was a weird dating situation. Not actual dating, don't be weird. But like I said, he stayed at Washington, and that's going to be huge for them. Although they lost their running backs to the NFL and a few other key players, they also had a solid portal class. I think Washington, from an offensive schematic standpoint, is always a team that's going to be able to run the ball on you, especially when they have a mobile quarterback like Desmond Williams who can move around but also still sling it. The question for me is, what are their receivers going to look like? Are they going to have receivers who can consistently win against one-on-one coverage? I know their defense is going to be stingy. Their defense is going to be good. It has been good. So that's my big question when we come to Washington. The reason I have them a lot lower on my list, I don't think they are going to win the Big Ten. I don't even think they're going to finish in the top 3 in the Big Ten. Despite being a really good team, I think they will be above 7-8 wins. I just don't see them going all the way this year. So moving along to the ACC, Pitt, another great name that I love to say, Mr. Pat Narduzzi. Pat Narduzzi over in Pennsylvania is building a solid program. Listen, when we talk about this particular team, Pat Narduzzi, he's known for his cover 4. He's going to stick to his defensive scheme. He's going to try to keep everyone back. So you have to go below and take what you can get when you play against Pitt. I think the defense is going to be good again this year. They did lose some key linebackers to the portal and to the NFL, but I think the D-line is going to be very solid. I also think they have a good quarterback. Another name I like to say, Mason Henschel, and I might be messing that up, but Mason's a good quarterback. He's mobile, he's dual threat. He's one of those guys that can get it out to the individuals, but also make a play himself and get those hard yards on his own. That's important for a quarterback. And I think they have a running back. Crane Turner, Mr. Turner is a speed demon. If you watch Pitt, especially in some of those key games that they won last year, that guy can go, and if he gets a crease, he's out of there. I think he's a little bit on the smaller side, but when it comes to a productive running back, when you have a guy who is a one-cut and gone guy like that, he's going to be really good this season. Look out for Pitt. I think their mix of offense and defense is going to be consistent to what it was last year. I don't think they'll win the ACC, but they're another team. I think they're going to be above or around that 8 to 9 wins type of season. That's why they're in my top 25. Moving over to the Big Ten at number 21, we have the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Can y'all believe that it is year 4 for Matt Rule, that he's been out there in the Plains 4 whole total years? Listen, Matt Rule's good at building programs. I think this offseason he had a lot going on. You know, they lost Dylan Raiola to the portal. I think they kind of knew that was coming. Great player. He played good, kind of outperformed his team there, just being honest. He had his hard times as well. Don't think for 1 minute, Nebraska fans, I'm saying Dylan was perfect. That was not the case at Nebraska. You kind of just saw the writing on the wall. They thought they were getting a really good quarterback who ended up spurning them after committing and then going to Kentucky. Long story short, in comes Anthony Colandrea from UNLV. I like this guy. I think Anthony Colandrea is a really good quarterback. He's mobile. He can run it. He can sling it. Consistency-wise, I think when we come to throwing the ball, he needs to sharpen that up, and he can be a gunslinger at times, but he's a good quarterback. From a running back standpoint, Nebraska is going to run the ball. Matt Rule has always done that. Even in his short tenure in the NFL, they're going to try to run the ball. With Mekhi Nelson and with Isaiah Mosey, they're they're going to have a run game. The problem is, can their offensive line protect their quarterback when they have to throw it, when they're going against the Ohio States, the Indianas, the Penn States, the really good teams with good pass rushers? And that's what I want to see. On the other side of the ball, vice versa, I want to see that their D-line can stop the run, because last year they kind of had some issues there stopping the run. In comes Rob Orridge, new defensive coordinator from San Diego State. I like him. I think he could be a really good coordinator. He did good things at San Diego State. I had a first-round draft pick and several other guys who are going to get a shot at the NFL. That's a testament, especially at a smaller school in San Diego State. So let's see what that defense does. I think back seven will be really good. I want to see how the D-line does, how the linebackers do in really stopping that run. Moving into number 20, we have Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Brent Key, the Titan Slayer. Listen, I'm a big Brent Key fan, man. It's something about these coaches lately that have an offensive line background where we're getting away from the finesse football and getting back into these guys that are all about physicality and punching guys in the mouth. It's literally punching guys in the mouth for 60 minutes, because that's the epitome of Georgia Tech. They had a great year last year. They slayed some Titans last year. I think they're probably going to do it again this year. I just want to see what it looks like at quarterback. So Alberto Mendoza, he comes over from Indiana. His big bro went off to the NFL. I think Alberto, I don't know. I haven't really seen him much at all. I don't know what kind of quarterback he's going to be. And we really don't even know if he's going to win the starting job. It sounds like he's going to be the guy, so it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. If he's anything like his brother, they're going to be dang good, right? But if we look at running back, they got Justice Haynes from Michigan. That's a lights out addition. The number one pickup, I think no one that I've seen is talking about that Georgia Tech got in the portal this year is absolutely Jalen Mbakwe. And I might be saying that name wrong, but here's the truth about Jalen. This guy can absolutely fly. On record, you see multiple Alabama players saying that Jalen was arguably the fastest player on that team. So when he goes to a team like Georgia Tech, who schematically is going to run the ball down your throat, and he's absolutely going to have one-on-one coverage a lot of the time, because teams are going to be stacking that box. And if he can fly like they say he can fly, which I believe he can, I think he's going to have a really big season this year. So look out for that in Georgia Tech. The other big thing is the defensive transition. So Jason Seymour is returning to Georgia Tech after a very short stint at Southern Miss. So that's going to be one to watch. Is that defense going to be as stingy as it has been in the past? Georgia Tech's always been really good at stopping the run. Their back seven is usually always really good. Teams are forced to beat Georgia Tech inch by inch and play their game. I want to see how that plays out with this coordinator who's come back to Georgia Tech this year. If it plays out well, Georgia Tech could be one of those sleeper teams in the ACC. Right now, I wouldn't put them in my top 3. They probably will be 4 or 5, but look out for them at number 20. Number 19, we have Penn State. Yes, we got those Nittany Lions coming in, and I know it's early, but listen, I believe in Matt Campbell. I think Matt Campbell was at Iowa State for over a decade and winning a lot of the seasons for over a decade for a reason. When we talk about identity, right? You got to really look at these hires and look at identity. There's some that aren't good, and I'll talk about that on another video. There's some that I feel fit the mold. Matt Campbell's that guy when we come to looking at him going to Penn State and looking at what his teams look like, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're always balanced, and he brought half of his team. He brought half of his team from Iowa State. Rocco Beck, the receivers, multiple different guys he brought from Iowa State. So I'm expecting that to come over and for his team to still be extremely balanced in running the ball and passing the ball and mixing in the RPOs. That's what Matt Campbell is known for and does really, really well. On the defense, there's a little more questions, right? You got D'Anton Lynn coming over. He had short stints at UCLA and USC. I think he's a good coach. This guy has coached in the NFL. He's very seasoned. I think if he can maximize the talent that's already on that Penn State roster, because they kept some dudes, they kept some guys. Go look up their true freshman D lineman, who's an absolute monster, is going to be probably a future first-round draft pick. They've got dudes. If he can maximize that, they're absolutely going to be one of those teams to watch. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten in year one, but look out for Penn State. At number 18, we've got Louisville Cardinals. So shout out to Louisville. I think Jeff Brom, I can't say enough good things about him as a football coach, especially because it seems like Jeff is always at the underdog teams. He did well at Purdue. He's doing great at Louisville right now. Look at his portal class. I think he did a really, really good job in the portal and addressing needs and getting guys who have a little bit more playmaking capability. So Trey Richardson comes over from Vandy, and that guy can absolutely fly at receiver. They got LaWayne McCoy, who was respectable at Florida State. I think he can have a jump at Louisville, being able to get the ball a little bit more. The big one is definitely Lincoln Keenholz, who comes over from Ohio State. Keep in mind, Lincoln was in a true quarterback battle to start at the Ohio State over Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin won out. The rest is history. Now he's at Louisville. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't have them winning the ACC this year for a big reason is experience. He hasn't ever been a starter. There's going to be some learning curve. Who better to have those learning curves with than Jeff Brom? Jeff Brom has always gotten the most out of his quarterbacks. I think Louisville's going to be really good. And don't forget, at running back, they have the twin monsters there, Isaac Brown and K'Wan Brown. The Brown brothers. They're not brothers, but they are both really, really good. Those guys are going to be a problem, man. You look up their highlights. You got two guys that can absolutely flat out get to the end zone. Isaac's definitely the faster one. K'Wan is the muscle, but also has a lot of speed. It's going to be fun to watch them. And best believe that defense is going to be extremely solid, extremely smart. The thing I loved watching Louisville last year, especially in some of their big upsets, when they upset Miami and when they're playing respectable against some of these other teams, is their secondary just flies around and makes phenomenal, fantastic plays. Look out for that again this year. That's why I have them at number 18. Number 17, let's talk the Tennessee Volunteers. Josh Heupel. One of those is his name, right? Listen, when we talk Josh, I think he's a great quarterback. He was a quarterback, but he's a great coach. And as a coach, the tough part with his particular scheme is when you spread out everyone the way he does in that high-flying spread offense, and it's an ultra spread. It's not a traditional spread because if you know anything about Tennessee, they like those extra wide splits. It's definitely catered to the wide receivers. At times, you can take a step back in the run game, and you kind of saw that last year watching Tennessee. I ask anybody who's a big Tennessee fan and they watch that Georgia game and Tennessee goes up, 21-0 on Georgia. You think it's about to be a blowout and a huge win, and Georgia comes storming back. And I do believe a lot of that, when you get a lead, you got to be able to run the ball consistently. If you can't, that's how teams can come back on you. So I really want to see what their run game looks like. From a receiver standpoint, they have Mike Matthew leading the way. They have TK Keys coming in as the number one wide receiver, I believe, that committed. The big question on the offense is going to be looking at the quarterback position. Who's going to win? They got a three-way battle between Brandon Faison, Ryan Stubb came over from Colorado, and then you also have George McIntyre, who was already there at Tennessee, the redshirt freshman. So you got three guys who are all really capable. I don't know. I kind of lean towards Ryan Stubb winning the position. I like what he did at Colorado. I think he kind of got overshadowed by the hype train that came with Julian, the young freshman over there at Colorado. And I like him. I think he's going to have a good year this year. But I think he kind of got overshadowed. He made some mistakes and he got pulled. You can't do that in the SEC, so we'll see what happens with Tennessee. But one thing I know for a fact, Tennessee is going to have really good defense. Tennessee's defense has been lights out, in my opinion, for the last 3 years, especially with the talent that they've had and been able to produce. And you really see it when some of those guys that had trouble at Tennessee, they go elsewhere and they become absolute stars. While Tennessee still has a good defense. That tells me these coaches are doing what they need to do if guys are leaving and playing well, and the team itself, Tennessee, isn't hurting. They still have a great defense. So keep that in mind. Let's keep it pushing. At number 16, we got Texas Tech's the Red Raiders. Listen, I want you to put a big old asterisk. A big asterisk right by number 16 because it could change at any moment. And the reason for that, listen, I just don't know if Brendan Sorsby is going to play. I don't know. Do y'all know? I don't know if he's going to play this season. It's a bad situation. If you live under a rock, no worries. Brendan Sorsby has a whole gambling investigation that I heard is now federal. That could be a rumor. I don't even know. But what I will say is Texas Tech is a really good team. If Brendan Sorsby is going to be at Texas Tech playing, they're going to win the Big 12. Believe in that. If he's going to play this season, they're going to win the Big 12. I love Joey McGuire from an offensive standpoint and defensive standpoint. Listen, he's got guys going first round to the NFL draft. Joey has done a great job in what he's cultivated at Texas Tech. And that oil money, hey, the oil money out there in Texas Tech is flowing because they are having fantastic recruiting classes, fantastic portal classes. Listen, whoever their donors are, if you need a friend to hang out with, holla at me, because I know I know that you'll be a great friend to have. But in all seriousness, they're doing a great job from an NIL collective standpoint to getting top players. Eventually, when you get that many top guys, you're going to have a top team that is nearly unstoppable. You saw it last year. They looked really good until they ran into Oregon, and Oregon ran straight through them. So let's see what happens this year. They lost a lot of guys, but I think the D-line, they really addressed it. Go look at their portal class. They got a lot of really good guys in the D-line. They got some solid linebackers. I think the defense will be great again. The offense is the big question. Moving right along to number 15, we have BYU, Big Toko, Kalani Sitake. I think he is probably the only Tongan coach in the whole NCAA. Shout out to Big Toko Kalani. Listen, when we talk BYU, I think BYU is going to be really good again this year. And they're going to be my favorite to win the Big 12 if a guy named Brendan Sorsby at Texas Tech cannot play. The reason why is they just have a very, very good scheme. Go watch BYU and see how they're always able to run the ball almost whenever they want to. That's a big part of their scheme. In order for them to take the next step, we're going to need Bear Bachmeier, because he's back, true sophomore. We're going to need him to be able to be even more so efficient at throwing the ball. I think they did a good job last year, but when they got in some of those big games and they couldn't run the ball and they had to throw it, that's where you saw their weaknesses. So their O-line and D-line, I think, is the strength of the team. Really good O-line, D-line, but they're run-focused O-line. And same for the D-line, run-focused. And when you watch some of the games that they lost last year, or they almost lost, go watch the Arizona game where you saw their cornerbacks kind of got exposed a little bit, and then you saw the same thing twice against Texas Tech. It's not the O-line, D-line so much when it comes to run, it's the pass protection. Same thing for the offensive line. In pass protection, go watch, Texas Tech versus BYU when they had to drop back and throw the ball. It was Sack City. It was Sack City. So if they can improve the pass protection, keep that great ability to run the ball as well as stop the run, they're going to be a good team again, and they'll probably win the Big 12 because we don't know what's going to happen with Brendan Sorsby. That's a solid pick right there to pick early to win that Big 12 if, our guy over there at Texas Tech cannot play. So at number 14, we have the Southern Methodist University Mustangs. Hey, listen, there's not going to be any secret here. I have a deep affection for my alumni, SMU. I think they're going to be really good this year. And right now, in my opinion, they're probably top 2 within the ACC. The reason I have them at number 14, they lost a lot. So they also brought back key additions. So let's talk Rhett Lashley first. Rhett Lashley has proven that he is a fantastic football head coach. He was a good coordinator, but he's a fantastic head coach. And he's not just an offensive mastermind. He's good at managing both sides of the ball. Here's a great stat for you to look into when we talk SMU. Did you know that SMU is 14-1 regular season and championships since joining the ACC? That's astronomical. 14-1. That being said, they're top 2 for me this year in the ACC. They brought back Kevin Jennings. I think they're going to address their running game. I actually heard Rhett talking about this in an interview, and he's guaranteeing that their running game is going to be a lot better this year because that was kind of their stickler last year. SMU is going to throw the ball on you. They're going to. The scheme is designed that way, and they're going to get it to everybody. Outside receiver, slot receiver, tight end, running back. Everyone's going to touch. Everybody eats in the SMU offense. That's why I think from a portal standpoint, they're getting good portal portal guys. I think they're going to eventually get even better and better portal guys because it's just an offense you want to play in as an offensive skill position player and even as an O-line, because when they're at their best, they're going to do everything you like to do as an O-lineman. They're going to run the ball, and then they're going to put you in those pass sets where it's good on good, and you got to win and you got to show your stuff to get to the league. I think on the defensive side, we have to really address that they're losing two really good starting safeties that will probably both end up on NFL rosters or practice squad rosters. That's hard to replace. I really want to see what their secondary does, because at times the secondary is where they lost games and kind of got exposed. Go watch the TCU game. The cornerbacks and secondary really struggled in that game. I watched the Baylor game. A lot of that we can blame on the kicker, right? But a lot of the comeback was also in the secondary, kind of missing assignments, especially on the outsides when we talk cornerbacks. So I want to see what happens there for SMU. The biggest addition for SMU, in my opinion, is Jalen Hale coming over from Alabama. This guy, I think, completely underrated. He didn't play much at Alabama. Just watch this season. I think he's going to be their number one receiver, and I think he's going to take a huge leap in being one of the better receivers in the ACC. I won't say the best, but I think he has the skills and tools, and this is the perfect type of offense to utilize those. Okay, at number 13, we have USC, the Trojans. So we got to start with Lincoln Riley. For the Lincoln Riley haters, let me talk to y'all first. I think Lincoln Riley is going to prove some of you all wrong this year. And the reason why, I think he's finally getting the understanding of, okay, this is how to recruit. They came in with the number one recruiting class for the first time in his tenure. I don't even think he did that at OU. But I also think he's shifting and understanding I have to make sure that the defense is just as good as my offense and we can play winning football in the trenches, right? Just having good quarterbacks and good receivers, you might have got away with that in the Big 12. You can't do that in the Big 10, especially in this particular Big 10. They have Jaden Maiava coming back. Jordan Wayman emerged as RB1, great running back. Had a phenomenal season last year. I think he's going to be even better this year over a better offensive line. I do think their offensive line will be improved. The biggest question when we talk USC Trojans is Gary Patterson. And can he bring back some of that flair and glory from when he was the head coach at TCU? Keep in mind, when he was at TCU, he ran the defense. He was a true defensive-minded coach. He kind of invented, now I won't say invented, but he kind of perfected the 4-2-5. When a lot of teams were still running the 4-3 or running a 3-3-5, he was one of the key guys who perfected that 4-2-5 with the three safety defense. I really want to see what he does now at USC. He hasn't been on the sidelines being a coach for several years. He's been an analyst. He's moved around a little bit. But, I saw it firsthand at SMU. So I want to see what Gary Patterson is able to do for this USC defense. Is it going to be a bust or is it going to work out? We just going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. Okay, at number 12, we have Alabama, the Rolling Tide. Some of y'all going to get mad at me about this for me having them at number 12. But listen, you're going to understand when I do this breakdown. So, Kalen DeBoer, great coach. This is actually year 3 for Kalen DeBoer. I think following a legend like Nick Saban is hard. It's not easy for anybody. Kalen DeBoer has done the best he can. He's done the best he possibly can, especially with the tools that they've had. They have a big quarterback competition going on this year, of course, between Austin Mack and Kalen Russell. I think it's going to be a good one, and that's going to determine their destiny in regards to how far they go, whether it's SEC championship or into the playoffs. I think the even bigger question you have for Alabama watching last season is the run game going to be fixed? It was non-existent in the latter half of the season, especially in the SEC championship and when they played Indiana. What's the run game going to look like? They have really good running backs. There's no question there. They have guys that absolutely can do it all. Is the scheme going to protect the run game? I think when you watch Kalen DeBoer at Washington, the passing game was just so good. It was perfected to the point that the run game was an accent to the passing game. In the SEC, you got to be balanced. You got to be balanced, baby. So I want to see what Kalen DeBoer is going to do this year to address that run game and make it better. And that's on both sides of the ball. The defense kind of got exposed many times throughout the season when it came to stopping the run. Again, I'm mentioning games later in the year, but Indiana tore Alabama up in the run game. Georgia tore Alabama up in the SEC championship game, running the ball and getting those easy 5 to 7 to 10 a pop when running the ball. Are they going to address that on the defensive side of the ball? football and make sure that they have a true run-stopping defense. And here's why. I think Alabama has one of the best secondaries in all of college football. They have two great corners, great safeties. They have the capability on the back end. They have some really good DNs when it comes to pass rushing. They need to figure out stopping the run consistently. And it's not always, I'm not saying Alabama had a ton of big runs, 50 plus runs, but if teams are consistently getting 3, 5, 7, you're not going to win an SEC. You're not going to win. So let's see what happens at the quarterback competition and in the run game. At number 11, listen, another SEC team. Like I said, my list is best possible teams. We're not doing none of that, just putting teams in to have balanced conferences. Nah. Best possible teams. If those two teams lined it up, who's going to win? So Oklahoma is number 11. Brent Venables seemed to finally figure it out last year. In the early part of the year, he had a potential Heisman candidate in John Mateer. Things were rocking and rolling for Oklahoma until John Mateer gets hurt and they got walloped at Texas. And although they made it into the playoffs, the weakness was kind of already exposed. OU is another team where we need to see, can y'all consistently run the ball? Are you going to be a team that relies on the capability and athleticism of John Mateer, or can you be balanced? Can you run the ball? Can you take some of that pressure off of his back, playing off of a hurt hand, which I'm excited to see him play a full year and hopefully stay healthy. But at the end of the day, you got to run the ball. You got to run the ball. So really interested to see what happens in the run game. I think the defense under Brent Venables is always going to be top 25, maybe even top 10. The defense was really fun to watch last year. Some of his blitzes and design packages. Listen, I'm a football guy. I love it. So watching what Brent Venables does on his defenses and how he schemes it up and confuses offenses, it's all about getting the offense to think you're doing something and do something different. He's one of the best in the business at that, hands down. You saw it at Clemson. You're seeing it at Oklahoma. They have potential to win the SEC championship, but they got to figure it out from a run game standpoint on the offense. The defense is going to be great. Absolutely. Getting into the top 10. Okay, so right at number 10, we have a team that made the college football playoff last year, Texas A&M, the Aggies. So when we talk the Aggies, listen, Mike Elko, he's a good coach. He's been consistent. He's another guy. Love to watch. You see what he did at Duke. He's doing the same thing in the SEC. They were undefeated most of the season last year until Texas kind of stumped them out a little bit. We'll talk about them. But Mike Elko has a great blueprint and a great scheme. So they have Marcel Reed coming back at quarterback. He's definitely going to be competitive. You have Ruben Owens finally taking the reins as being the key and lead running back. They have great receivers. They brought over Isaiah Horton from Alabama. They already had Mario Carver. They have the depth there to really win big games from a receiver standpoint. My biggest question for Mike Elko and the Aggies this year is their defense. And I know that's surprising because Elko's a defensive guy, but they lost a lot. From a D-line standpoint, from a secondary standpoint, they lost some good guys. So what's it going to look like? Honestly, if you watch Mike Elko, he's going to reload. I think the secondary is great. I think they have really good linebackers in the middle. I'm talking all SEC type linebackers. So this is why they're my number 10 team. I think Marcel Reed has to develop to that next level. We see what he can do athletically. We also have to address, stop saying this guy is just a dual threat running quarterback. The guy can throw the ball all over the place. I think what got exposed for him in his last couple of games, Texas and Miami, is under pressure. Under pressure, he shrunk. He folded a little bit, and that's most younger quarterbacks. I want to see that progression in this next year for him, where the pressure doesn't sting him at all. He's still, dinking and dunking and doing his thing. Number nine is going to surprise y'all. At number 9, I have Michigan. Listen, Michigan is one of my dark horses to win the whole thing in the Big Ten this year. I think Kyle Whittingham was a rock star hire at Michigan. And let me tell you exactly why. So if you watch Kyle Whittingham when he was at Utah, he's another guy who has really balanced offenses. Lots of different sets. Schematically wise, he'll spread you out, and then he'll have a tight set all in the same series of plays, right? So and by series, I mean first down, second down, third down. That type of offense is really hard to stop. Kyle Whittingham is also really, really good at running the ball and getting the most out of dual threat quarterbacks. Look at the different guys from Tyler Huntley, etc., that he's pushed into the league. Doesn't matter if they're stars or not, they were really good at Utah. And by stars, I mean in the NFL, they were stars in college. So you look at Michigan and what they have and what they kept, and they have Bryce Underwood. They're going to have a really good offensive line that can do both, protect the quarterback in the pass, and of course be great running the ball. They're going to run the ball with Kyle Whittingham. And in my opinion, I think they're going to get the most out of Bryce Underwood. You're going to see a really, really good Bryce Underwood, and if they can keep the turnovers down, they're going to be a big problem this year in the Big Ten, because that particular offense is going to look very different. I think outside of John Harbaugh, Kyle Whittingham is one of the best Michigan hires, in my opinion, that they've had in a long while. We'll see how that ages. Hey, I don't know. But in my opinion, seeing his tenure and what he's done in his resume, great hire. The defense is always going to be lights out in Michigan. They're a dark horse. Look out for Michigan to potentially win the Big Ten in year one of Kyle Whittingham. Believe it. Mark it down right now. That's why they're my number 9 team. At number 8, so listen, at number 8, we have the Indiana Hoosiers. So the reason Indiana is number 8 and not top 3 on this year's way too early top 25 is primarily because replacing Fernando Mendoza is going to be really tough. If you watch some of those key games that they had that were close, and there weren't a lot because they blew out just about everybody, Fernando seemed to be the difference. Yeah, you got to love the scheme. Yeah, you got to love what their defense did. But when we look at the national championship, we look at the game against Ohio State, and absolutely the game against Penn State that they almost lost at Penn State, Fernando was absolutely the difference. I think the reason they're going to be 8, and at the end of the season, I'll probably look back and maybe even after week 1, see them catapult in my top 25 to top 5, is the Italian Stallion. Curt Cignetti, another name that's just awesome to say. Curt's a great coach. Curt, in my opinion, is the best coach in college football. And it's not just because he won a national championship. Listen, Curt was winning games at James Madison. Curt turned Indiana around. Indiana was never good. Never good. They never won a championship. I don't even know if they ever, won a Big Ten title. Indiana is here to stay, and Curt did that with his scheme, with the way they practice. You just got to really look into what Curt does. But I think they're going to be good. They brought Josh Hoover over from TCU, good quarterback. I think the offense did lose a lot of star power, but they also definitely brought in great guys in the portal. They're going to have a really good offense again. On the defensive side, they did lose some key guys in the front 7. I want to see how they replace their primary linebacker, number 4, absolute dog. I can't think of his name right now. But if they're able to, really overcome losing Fernando, because Fernando was just so smart, I think they'll be a top 3 team. Right now, they're sitting at number 8 in my particular top 25. At number 7, we have Notre Dame. So listen, when we talk Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, he's just a likable guy. You see his interviews, you're like, that's a good guy, man. That's a good coach right there. And I think this year with Notre Dame, I think a lot of people have them top 3. I'm not seeing them top 3 right now. And maybe I just need to see week 1. And the reason I say that, when you lose 2 running backs who were both first-round running backs, which is unprecedented, your first and second string running back both go to the NFL in the first round, that's crazy. I just don't know who they're going to have on that roster that can replace that production, because Notre Dame was such a run-heavy team. I like CJ Carr. He can sling it. He's a great quarterback. I think they also had really, really good portal additions in the wide receiver room. Jordan Faison was already there. They brought in Mylan Graham. They brought in Quincy Porter. Some other guys. That receiver room is going to be good. So it'll be interesting for me to see, okay, are they going to transition from being a run-first team to a passing team? If that happens, they very well could be top 3. But right now, I'm not seeing them as a top 3 team just off of the production that they lost. And I know they have great running backs on their roster. This is no disrespect to their running backs. I'm just not seeing it on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they have a absolute sure first round pick in Leonard Moore, best cornerback in the whole entire college football, in my opinion, that I've seen up to this point. Someone might surprise me this year, but Leonard Moore is a lockdown cornerback. That guy is really, really good. The whole defensive secondary is really solid. What I want to see their defense take a step in this year in order for them to be top 3 and go to or go deeper into the playoffs is definitely have a more disruptive defensive line from an interior standpoint. If they do that this year, they'll be really good. At number 6, I I have the Georgia Bulldogs. Listen, Georgia could be a team that can win it all. We just don't know yet, right? Kirby Smart, heck of a coach. You know Kirby's defenses are going to be lights out. And one thing about Kirby, he's never going to stop being Kirby Smart. So those teams are always going to be physical. It might not be a lot of flash and pizzazz when it comes to his offenses, but you're going to see that on the defense. Yeah, those defenses are going to be lights out. He's going to blitz. He's going to play man-to-man. They're going to have extremely physical defenses, and they're going to win up front. That's just what Georgia does. The big question is, can Gunnar Stockton get it done? Is Gunnar the guy? I think he gained uncharted experience last year. Regardless of what you think, that was his first full year starting. Yes, he played in the playoffs and played part of the SEC championship game whenever Beck got hurt. But can Gunnar win it all now that he's got the experience? And that's what I want to see. A big step that they need to take in doing that is definitely the run game. I think they have to improve the run game. The run game was good last year, but it could be even better when we talk explosive plays. And I also really want to see they have more downfield passing plays be completed. I think they have big receivers and speedy receivers that can make it happen. I just think so much of the offense last year was little quick tunnel screens to Zachariah Branch or play action pass or comebacks, and not as many of the explosive, 60-yard bombs, 80-yard bombs. And I'm not saying that that's what makes the offense great, but having some of those with that great run game that Georgia is known for makes you absolutely dangerous. That's what makes you top 10. That's what gets you to win championships, along with having a fantastic defense. So that's why I have Georgia at number 6 right now. I think that the SEC is pretty loaded this year, and Georgia has a great opportunity to win the SEC for sure again, but there's going to be some key things that are going to happen. At number 5, we got 2 teams, and if you don't like that, I don't care. It's my list. So at number 5, we have Ole Miss and LSU. Listen, I had to put them together. Why? Because no one's talking about how good Ole Miss is going to be again this year. In my opinion, not enough. I haven't seen them top 5 in a lot of lists. So many lists, I'm seeing them at 10 or at 8 or at 7. Listen, Ole Miss and LSU, the reason I paired them together is because the identity of those 2 teams are so similar, almost identical. It's almost like the head coach coached at both. Listen, I think the defense at LSU is going to look a little bit different, right? Might have a little bit of an edge over Ole Miss, but both teams are going to have dual threat running quarterbacks. Both teams' offensive identities are going to look really similar from an RPO standpoint. Take the top off with deep balls while also keeping you honest in the run game. They both have dynamic running backs, K'Wan Lacey, and then of course Caden Durham at LSU. They're just so similar across the board. The defense is going to be the main difference in which one of these teams, because I do think Ole Miss, Georgia, or LSU probably have the best chance in the SEC to win it all, only because Alabama and Oklahoma have questions in the run game. So that being said, which one of these teams' defenses is really going to be lights out in the best between Ole Miss and between LSU? Believe it or not, I think it might be Ole Miss, just because I think Pete Golding is such a good defensive coach. He showed it time and time again at his tenure in Ole Miss. I just think LSU has more stars on the defensive side of the ball. So whoever the coordinator is, I don't know, and I'll find it in a different video. Whoever the coordinator is at LSU, listen, if you can get your defense figured out and make them lights out, you have a chance to win the whole thing. The whole national championship in year 1, because the offense is going to be dynamic at LSU with Sam Levitt, with Caden, with all the speed they have on the outside at wide receiver, and the defense just needs to be rock solid. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, because I think Ole Miss is going to be a playoff team again. Some people don't like that, but I just think they are. From a standpoint of how that team is made up and the coaching and the scheme, I'm a big scheme guy. Ole Miss is probably going to be there again, whether they win the SEC or not. LSU is the one that I'm questioning, because I believe in Lane. I know the offense is going to be probably top 10. So I just don't know how it's going to shake out. Despite them having so many stars, it's still a new offense. They're learning new schemes. At number 4, I have Ohio State. Listen, Ryan Day proved doubters wrong in 2024. 2025, they got really close. Miami kind of stumped them out in the college football playoff. Great game by Miami. If you watch that game, they really dominated a big portion of the game, especially the first half. But I think Ryan Day's makeup matchup of his offense and defense is always going to put them in contention. And there's a key guy there named Jeremiah Smith that is almost guaranteed to be the top 2. He's going to be either 1 or 2 next year for sure in the 2027 NFL draft. So what does that mean? It means they need guys outside of, Carnell Tate last year, but this year they're going to need guys outside of Jeremiah Smith to really produce, to be big time guys so that Jeremiah Smith isn't getting double and triple teamed in coverage and they can use everybody and keep defenses honest. They lost their offensive coordinator. Brian Hartline went down to USF. So I really want to see what the offense looks like this year. I really want to see how the run game progresses. Bo Jackson, great running back. They're going to have a good O-line. Don't think that O-line is not good because the way Miami's defensive line exposed them the last time you saw them. That was just an amazing defensive line. In my opinion, the best defensive line in the whole college football last year when we talk position to position. That O-line at Ohio State is really good. It's going to be really good again this year. I want to see how the defense deals with losing so many stars. I think the secondary, despite losing Caleb Downs and their number 1 cornerback, I can't say his last name, so I'm not going to try, but really, really good number 1. Both went to the NFL. What's the secondary going to look like? I imagine it's still going to be really good. I've heard murmurs about different corners and true freshman guys who are already looking amazing over there. They had a good portal class. They got a couple guys from Alabama for the defensive line. I think the defense will be good. I do think they have a great chance at being top 2 in the Big Ten. You'll see who I think will be number 1. They're coming up pretty soon here. At number 3, I have the Miami Hurricanes. Listen, Mario Cristobal was 2 plays away from winning the national championship last year in 2025. Those 2 plays, we know what they were. They were the block punt and then, of course, also the interception to seal the game at the end of the game. Mario Cristobal was this close to doing it again at his alma mater because, as you know, he won championships there as a player and a coach. I think Mario is finally getting in his bag and really getting to that point of proving all his doubters wrong that he can't win big games. He dominated the SEC last year. They won, I think, every single game against SEC opponents. Obviously, Texas A&M, obviously beating Florida, obviously beating Ole Miss. So he dominated the SEC. I think you're still going to have that question with Mario until they have a complete season where they're not losing games they shouldn't lose. Last year, they lost to SMU and then, of course, also to Louisville. As a SMU alum, but also a guy who grew up in Miami, my mom graduated from the University of Miami. Those are the 2 teams you're going to know I have an affection for. So it was a great year for me. SMU beat Miami, but Miami goes all the way to the championship and almost wins it all. I think this year they're going to be honestly even better on offense. I think they filled so many holes when it comes to on the outside. Their receivers are really good. Last year they were formidable, but if you watch the games, you saw they weren't take the top off type of guys. CJ Daniels would make the contested catches. You need guys like that, but it was kind of the Malachi Tony show when it comes to receivers and a bruising, mean, amazing offensive run game. This year, I think they're going to have all that. Darian Mensah is phenomenal. You got that you saw with them when you look at CC Manoa when he was younger. They're going to be really good. My biggest question, a lot of people are saying the offensive line. My biggest question for this Miami team is the DNs and the linebackers. I really want to see how Damon Wilson does coming over from Missouri. I honestly think he might not even have the most sacks as, the defensive lineman for Miami because Marquise Lightfoot, you got Hayden Lowe, they got a lot of guys on the defensive line. My favorite guy on the defensive line is not on the exterior. It's their 2 guys in the middle. Amon Moulton, mark my words, Amon Moulton's going to be a first-round draft pick next year if he can stay healthy. That guy is so disruptive. It's fun to watch him. He's my favorite D lineman to watch that came back on this particular team. I just want to see how their DNs and their linebackers do. I know Torrey came back. They lost Wesley, so I want to see how the linebackers hold up. Corey Heatherman's still there. They kept both of their coordinators. You never know. But I think Miami, in almost everyone's preseason polls, is projected to win the ACC. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll see if they can beat that moniker that they have on them all the time, that they lose games they shouldn't lose. If that happens, they're not going to win the ACC again. They might still get into the playoffs, but they're not going to win the ACC again. However, they're definitely top 3 right now for my preseason, top 25. All right, and the final 2, here we go. At number 2, I have the University of Oregon, the Ducks. Go Ducks. So listen, with Oregon, Lieutenant Dan Manning, Oregon's going to be a really good team. They brought back Deontay Moore. They also brought Dylan Raiola to be the backup to Dante Moore. You got 2 starting quarterbacks on your roster. They're going to have a really good running game, as they have for a very long time. Their receivers are going to be lights out with Evan Stewart coming back, Decorian Moore. They're just going to be really good. Yeah, they lost a great tight end in Kenyon Sadiq, but their O-line is going to be bruisers. You saw what their O-line did to Texas Tech. It didn't really happen against Indiana, both times actually, but there obviously was some great scheme there and some big turnovers when they played Indiana in the playoff game. Oregon's going to be good. I think on defense, they have a ton of stars on that defense as well. The sky is the limit for Oregon for a number of reasons. I think schematically wise, I love what Oregon does. Extremely balanced offense that can run the ball, they can pass the ball. The defense is great in all phases: blitzing, passing, zone, coverage, stopping the run. They're just a team that I think, if they can get it all together, has the front seat in winning the Big Ten. I don't know if it'll happen, right? Because we have to see what happens with Michigan, with Ohio State, with Penn State, and some of the other contenders in the Big Ten. But anyone who doesn't see them as top 3, in my opinion, you're blind. You're crazy. They brought too much back. Dante Moore is a really good quarterback, and Oregon is my number 2 team. Y'all ready for number 1? Are you ready? Okay, so at number 1, you probably already guessed it. If not, here we go. At number 1, we have the Texas Longhorns. Now remember, because I know we saw this last year, and the thing about Texas, there's always this hype train, and it's tough not to have it when you have a quarterback whose last name is Manning. But hear me out. You got to see what they did in the portal, and you got to see the guys they kept, like a Colin Simmons on defense, prevented him from going to the NFL. When you have that, plus a Corey Coleman at wide receiver, right? When you have 2 starting running backs who are 2 of the best guys across the whole country, I'm not saying they are the 2 best, but I'm saying they would be both in the top 10. How do you not put Texas at number 1 when you look at that particular team on paper? This team on paper should be the best offense in the whole country. And you know Steve Sarkisian, he's an offensive guy. I love Sark, watched a lot of his interviews. The thing about Sark is confident in his offense always. They're going to run the ball. If they can run the ball, they're always really, really good. So that question's, okay, what is their O-line going to look like? I think they'll be pretty good this year. I think they'll be better than last year. And what do the stars look like around the run game? Well, let's look at it. You have Hollywood Smothers and you have Raleek Brown, who are both big-time guys at their respective schools. Really, really good running backs. You have 2 to 3 great wide receivers on the outside, keeping the pressure off of the run game so they can't stack the box with Corey Coleman. You have Emmett Mosley also at the slot. And then don't forget Ryan Wingo, who was their best receiver last year. He's going to be even better this year. Additionally, with that great defense that we already know is there, yes, they lost pieces in Hill and some of the other guys, but the defense is still going to be really good. It's impossible not to put Texas at number 1, in my opinion. The best thing is we're going to see firsthand, just like we saw last year, if they're for real, because they play Ohio State in the first game. So, I mean, that's 1 versus 4. A lot of people are going to have it at 1 versus 2, just like it was last year. Texas is my number 1. I just want to see it come to fruition and see what they look like when they actually play the games against these actual teams and if everything holds up. But Texas is number 1 on paper this year in the too early top 25. 60 days out, we're almost to the season. If you like this video, I need you to go ahead and give me a like. Thank you so much for tuning in. Daniel Roundtree, the best college football show. You heard it here first.